Welcome back everyone, and it's time to go balls deep! Today we are covering facts, trivia and information you didn't know about the Akatsuki. And yeah, that includes Itachi Uchiha and all the other Akatsuki members we know and love. So let's begin with the conceptual idea of the Akatsuki. How was the idea formed by Kishimoto, the creator of Naruto? The first conceptual idea of Akatsuki was totally different from what we know. Kishimoto intended for the group to be monsters with almost no human characteristics. However, this was partially scrapped as characters such as Itachi Uchiha, Yahiko and Konan maintained their human appearance. On the other hand, Kishimoto admitted that this is a reason he made Akatsuki members such as Kakuzu having 4 hearts looking like a zombie, Pain having a godlike persona, and Zetsu looking totally alien-like in a manner that he did. One of the key aspects Kishimoto was trying to portray with the Akatsuki is the menacing aura that would gravitate viewers' attentions towards them. But at the same time, he wanted to make sure to incorporate morality and human feelings into the story of the Akatsuki. Otherwise, how would we possibly relate to them? Kishimoto specifically wanted to create the Akatsuki for Naruto fans to relate to the bad guys. This is because Naruto itself is a show that is all about human growth and redemption, even for those who have fallen so far down into darkness. The ultimate goal of the manga was to end the cycle of hatred that occurs within the world due to injustice, culture, and events that occurred in people's lives, thus relating back to the real world. Ultimately, we all feel pain, right? Throughout interviews, the creator of Naruto has said that the Akatsuki were made up of anti-heroes. He did not want to create typical villains, but instead characters that fans would try to understand by getting to know their backstories and have some sympathy. Kishimoto describes that giving a character a flaw makes them feel more human, and he personally doesn't like people to be so perfect. In an interview with Shonen Jump, he stated, "With manga, it's not about you, it's drama about others. So you need to create it in a way so that the reader can relate to the story without feeling distressed. You can't have a complex fantasy world that obstructs the reader from understanding the character's motivations." Are you challenging me? With this train of thought and pen technique, Akatsuki were created to have tough emotional backstories which caused their criminal actions. However, because he wanted to make sure fans knew that they were quote-unquote the bad guys, he designed them in a fashion that would highlight this. Editor Kobayashi asked the creator of Naruto on how he came up with the framework for Shippuden, where Kishimoto explained that because Naruto and his group were so weak as Genin in the first part of Naruto, he wanted to make them stronger in the second part. This is especially because he introduced the Akatsuki, who are all Jonin level, so he had to make the main cast stronger too. He also used the time skip as a chance to change their clothes, since he didn't like the swirl on the arm of Naruto's jacket and also his thick collar in part 1 as it got in the way of his face in action scenes. But going back to the Akatsuki, when they were displayed only as shadows during meetings, Kishimoto remarks that Hidan was his favorite overall. However, he was worried at first about how he was depicting Hidan, who stabbed himself and then felt so good about it. Now remember that Kishimoto wanted to show the monstrous side of the Akatsuki that was bad. So the initial design of Zetsu, for example, was made for him to be modeled after an insectivorous plant. Yes, I got it! Clap for me, guys! Comment below, smash that like button, I got it in the first go! You guys know how bad my pronunciation is on Japanese words. That's not even Japanese, wait a second, I'm just an idiot. He also stated that he had decided to make Zetsu half black and half white to better show his split personality. Now, an interesting fact is that insectivorous plants derive some or most of their nutrients from trapping and consuming animals. In the end, Zetsu is made up of humans that got trapped into the infinite Tsukuyomi by Kaguya and their nutrients were being extracted. Kishimoto is a genius! Kisame was based on a mythological Japanese shark. I have covered this video already, check it out on the channel about why he is half shark. I mean, look at this dude. You really think he just doesn't look like a monster? Bruh, I'd be running from him in an instant if I saw this dude in real life. Why are you running? In fact, the Mizukage describes this dude to be like a tailed beast without a tail with the amount of chakra he has, further foreshadowing this monstrous state Kishimoto was going for. On the other hand, with Konan's initial concept art, this girl was fine, you know what I'm saying? But the creator of Naruto was like, bruh, she's got too much sauce, too much sexy with her belly button out in her concept art. She was too sexy basically. If you compare her side by side to what we got in the end, I'm pretty sure the initial facial design would have made her a waifu to many of you watching the video. Am I right?
Of course!
Alright, so now we all know what Kishimoto, the creator of Naruto, intended when he created Akatsuki. But during the process of building the story and development for the group, Kishimoto wrote the perfect story depicting pain and loss for such a group to be formed. A lot of references for this could have been from our own world and history, where many anti-government organizations are formed due to injustice or war caused to their home. In an interview, Kishimoto says that in real life there are such professional organizations where a group of individuals come together, and he wanted to draw a parallel to that, so he drew Pain to be the leader bringing these individuals together. We know from the series, Akatsuki was initially formed during the period of the Third Shinobi War by Yahiko, together with his friends Konan and Nagato. The three of them became orphans by the events of the Second Shinobi War, which caused turmoil in their village Amagakure, the Rain Village, because there was a lot of crossfire of the 5 great shinobi countries. So after being trained by Jiraiya and finding themselves capable of defending themselves, they aimed to bring peace to their home country by forming a group recruiting the people affected by the war. However, after the death of Yahiko, the mantle was handed to Nagato, but due to the grief and anger of losing his best friend, he felt as though the world would never really consent to peace, and thus Akatsuki's pacifist approach wasn't going to get them anywhere, so he turned to violence. This pushed Nagato to the idea that the only way the world would turn away from its constant state of war was the experience of a greater tragedy. A tragedy so great that the world wouldn't dare to think about bringing up another conflict. Nagato took on the name of Pain and then formed the 6 Paths of Pain, in which he integrated Yahiko's corpse so that he could symbolically continue leading the Akatsuki. This ideology actually exists in our day and age, where evil organizations are manifested from the tragedy of war. But to go even deeper into Kishimoto's intentions, as after a while we learned that the Akatsuki formation was planned out by Black Zetsu through Naruto Uchiha, reflecting on proxy wars that we have in real life. For instance, many evil organizations in our world are also pre-planned and created by powerful men to manipulate the masses or fulfill their own agenda. Stay woke, my brothers and sisters. Let me know in the comment section below if you are woke by typing out "we woke out here." Anyway, in some ways, Black Zetsu or Madara represent these people or evil power entities, as they also strategically manipulated and rigged the formation of the group known as Akatsuki. Now, as you may know, Kishimoto is a genius, and he left nothing to coincidence. This even came down to the character design and clothing. For example, the notorious red cloud on the Akatsuki cloaks symbolizes the horror and bloodshed which took place in Yahiko, Konan, and Nagato's home village during the various ninja wars. Anyway, at first, the red cloud stood for the loss of life, but when Pain took over the Akatsuki, the meaning behind the symbol began to change. Instead of symbolizing peace, it became a sign of death. Also, Akatsuki, meaning dawn or daybreak, represents the starting of a new world, a peaceful world, and what more than a sunrise that can encapsulate this image. That's why this specific picture was chosen on their cloak. Even after Nagato taking over, the goal was pretty much the same, but the meaning was different. Although the name also showcased a bit of irony, as dawn can also represent something bleak and bloody, this concept was further pushed in Boruto, with Kara as a secret organization being nothing new to the series. I hope you can smash that like button and notification bell, because we cover Naruto on a weekly basis. Join our community, join the discussion in the comments. Let's try to get as many likes as possible, but let's get at least 10,000. Also, why not tell me your favorite character in the Akatsuki? It's Itachi, isn't it? Of course it's Itachi.
You naughty, you teasing me.
With that being said, let's move on to Itachi, everyone's favorite. Well, did you know in Naruto's 4th data book, Kishimoto revealed that Itachi Uchiha's initial first draft story for his character was something totally different. It was actually going to involve Itachi being a Konoha secret agent who killed his clan under their orders. Itachi was originally conceived to be a leader of Konoha's special assassination group and tactical squad, which would have been called Itachi Squad and have around 70 people divided into 4 teams. These teams would specialize in assassination or other operations. However, this idea was scrapped because Kishimoto favored the idea that Itachi should work for the Akatsuki. Thus, to create the idea to go forth with Itachi leaving the village and joining the Akatsuki, he created a new plotline where Shisui is a prodigy of the Uchiha and would be Itachi's best friend who trains him in his childhood. Shisui would eventually sacrifice himself for Itachi's character to unlock the Mangekyo Sharingan and slaughter the clan with Obito. Out of all the backstories he created for the Akatsuki, Kishimoto says Itachi is his favorite. In fact, from the conception of his character, the only idea that he had to attribute to him, that Itachi would have violent action that would make Sasuke want to kill him. This is when he decided to make Itachi join the Akatsuki. This change of direction would end up making Itachi's character an anti-hero instead of a villain, and also have character development through Shisui, thus making readers understand Itachi's point of view, and in the end align with Kishimoto's intention to make the Akatsuki a gang of anti-heroes. In Itachi's original design, we can see that it's drastically different to what we know. The first model of Itachi has long gloves, a coat cloth around his waist, and even seems to have a huge headband. I mean, the dude seems to have an X-marked scar on his chin and even a hat on. I'm not sure about this, but this design certainly would have been out of favor. I mean, look at the Itachi we got in the end, fam. This man sexy, has luscious herbal essence hair, my guy, and those eyes, those beautiful eyes, oh my god. Now, another thing you may not know about Itachi since he joined the Akatsuki is his use of crows. You're probably wondering why and how did he come to use crow type of jutsu? Well, in the data books and novels of Naruto, it is stated that Shisui kept several crows so that he could use them for various jutsu. The crow were faithful to their owner and were valuable partners. This is why when Shisui gives his Mangekyo Sharingan to Itachi, he can call upon a crow instantly as if it was tame. It is explained in the novels that Shisui and Itachi both use crows because they realized the substitution jutsu that regular ninja use is basic and the wooden log was just too conventional and predictable for a ninja to see coming. Shisui was fantastic at deceiving his opponents, such as the body flicker technique, and Itachi would come to develop his own version of the crow jutsu to emulate this deception against his opponents. In the novel Itachi Shinden Book of Bright Light, which is canon, explains that Shisui and Itachi were training together one day and they saw a flock of crows flying in the woods. They realized to themselves that using a wooden log was meager compared to a flock of crows since they flew in many different directions. Therefore, their opponent would be surprised and thus it would create an opening in the fight, letting them win. However, the use of crows is also a metaphor. This is because the general connotation in Japan and in media regarding crows is death. The many crows can represent the deaths of the Uchiha clan that Itachi holds with him forever due to being forced to take action to stop a civil war. Alright, now let's move on to some other awesome inspirations that Kishimoto had to flesh out Akatsuki characters. For instance, Kishimoto revealed that he was an avid Gundam fan as a child and used to practice his artwork by drawing the different characters, and this actually played an effect in the Naruto series. For example, many of Kakuzu's techniques are named after various mecha from the series. Earth Grudge Fair technique is a reference to MSN-02, Kakuzu's False Darkness refers back to the YMS-15 Gaian. Furthermore, Taro Okamoto was the man who originally coined the phrase "art is an explosion," which Kishimoto borrowed for Deidara. The influence doesn't stop there, as several of Okamoto's works served as inspiration for Deidara's moveset. Not only do some of the artist's statues resemble the bombs Deidara creates in Naruto, but the artist also drew shapes on his hands that are very similar to how Deidara uses his techniques. Now for number 5, let's go back to the point that Kishimoto, the creator of Naruto, wanted about all the Akatsuki being anti-heroes representing the cyclic nature of violence. If you think about it, bold, deep style, every single Akatsuki member actually represents a different motivation of war. For example, starting with Kakuzu, his character is driven by money and lots of it. He's not willing to do anything that doesn't benefit him financially. He's even shown to care a lot about bounties, going to great lengths for a big payoff. For God's sake, the guy had an accountant, a banker, and people under him just to manage his money. Morality plays no role in his decision making, since he apparently killed 2 or more Akatsuki members before he was given Hidan. Hidan was specifically chosen because he won't be able to kill him due to his immortality. When it comes to war, Kakuzu only thinks about finance and living longer. Now, I don't want to be too political right now, but this basically reflects on the real world. But speaking of Hidan, his motivation of war is religion. Hidan's primary goal in life is to spread Joshinism, the teachings of a violent cult that seeks to eliminate the fear of death by either killing people or making them immortal. Kisame's motivation of war is to expose the lies and hypocrisy of the nation. Remember his backstory being quite depressing. During Kisame's time as a ninja in the Kirigaka Tsukere, he came to the conclusion that the world is full of scum and trash, as no one can really be trusted due to their own self-interest. His loyalty and hard work meant nothing. For instance, before Kisame joined the Akatsuki, his superior Fuguki told him to kill the members of the Cypher division who were his own crew because the intel they had was more valuable than their own lives. However, Kisame finds out that Fuguki just wanted to sell the intel to enemy ninja for personal gain, so he killed him as well. He realized that the village is full of lies and scum like him. So this comes to Pain and Conan, as they are pretty self-explanatory. But basically, Pain fights for peace, we all know that, whilst Itachi's motivation is to protect his nation, so he is a spy. Sasori and Deidara's motivation for a war is to be known in the world for creating diplomatic changes that last a long time and people appreciating their art, kinda like the psychopaths in real life. So Deidara's clay bomb sculpture is artistic representation of blowing up the old with the new. Sasori takes it a bit further by making puppets out of human bodies, but again this highlights the new life he wants to create from the old. However, both cases with Deidara and Sasori, they bring out their artistic side with their flavor of violence. That's their way of expressing themselves. However, the violence was only brought out within them from years of war and neglect. Their solitude formed a connection to their art, which ultimately became the only means for them to make a change. Although with Deidara, he didn't really have any desire to share his change or art by joining an organized group known as Akatsuki. However, he lost to Itachi in a challenge, so he decided to jump the bandwagon. This highlights the influence of others over the broken, as ultimately Deidara was pushed further into violence, which finally brings us to Obito and Madara, who represent the motivation of forcing their own ideals onto others, as both pretty much believe that humans were irredeemable and the only way peace could truly be achieved is through using the infinite Tsukiyomi to hypnotize the world into a dream. This forced ideology would eventually bring about peace due to unified coexistence. Some of you out there believe that Madara did nothing wrong due to the reasoning behind it, and you're probably on a watch list. And if you'd like to, I have explained the deeper meaning behind the philosophy and why it happened the way it did due to Kishimoto's intentions. It's called Naruto Uchiha Did Nothing Wrong. Check out this video if you want to. I'll put that in the pinned comment too. And holy shit, I think I'm starting to realize how much balls deep information and of Naruto content I have on this channel. I keep referring to other shit, but I don't want this video to be too long because some of you are asleep right now. Because this brings me to my final point and fact about the Akatsuki. Because a lot of the fandom have wondered what was the meaning and purpose behind the Akatsuki rings in Naruto, right? Because if you guys remember, under Nagato, each member of the Akatsuki was given one of the 10 rings to be worn on a specific finger. The rings supposedly had a role in sealing the tailed beast into the demonic statue of the outer path. But apart from that, not much was indicated on the significance of the rings. But for those that want a balls deep analysis, I would suggest checking out 2 Spooky's video on it because he covered it pretty well. But let me summarize what I can. 8 of the 10 kanji on the rings are taken from the Kuji-in, a collection of 9 hand postures used in meditation. The only 2 which don't are Pain and Zetsu's, as they are not from the Kuji-in. But the rings also have to do with the position each Akatsuki member holds within the group. But going over all of them would take a day, that's why I told you to check out 2 Spooky's video. So I'm only gonna cover the best. Let's start with Pain. Pain having the 0 ring represents a starting point or a base from which others things begin. Akatsuki was founded by Yahiko, who became Pain's main body. Also take note how the ring is on his right thumb, gesturing the starting point of the group itself. This actually will parallel with the left thumb ring which is later given to Tobi. Itachi with his scarlet ring highlights pretty much his whole life, as scarlet is the color of blood, and Itachi killing off his clan certainly fits the bill on this one. However, red is also the color most associated with courage, especially courage requiring the great sacrifice and even martyrdom which Itachi took upon the role of a sacrificial lamb for the sake of Konoha and his brother. Anyway guys, as I said, check out 2 Spooky's video if you want to know everything about the rings. That's literally everything you need to know about the Akatsuki that you may not know. Make sure to binge the playlist if you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something new. I really do hope you can hit the notification button, smash the like button, follow us on social media, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time.